Howdy there, internet people. It's Chainsaw again. And so today, we're going to talk about school shootings and bad cops. Just maybe not the ones that you might be thinking of immediately, but we are going to get to that, rest assured, okay? So, you may recall, back in November of last year, hearing a story about a school resource officer in southern Missouri who was arrested for statutory sodomy with a victim of less than 14 years old. And this was one of the last stories that had come across my desk just before, my hiatus, right? Now, what most of the local news outlets didn't mention was that the suspect, Rob Pilkington, was also a former deputy at the Howell County Sheriff's Department. Let's take a look. And this was actually, it's looking like the arrest was made right there in Douglas County. Former employee with Howell County Sheriff's Office, charged in a sex crimes case. This came out November 27th. Nice mugshot there. We'll get to why I can tell that that's in Douglas County, other than the fact that it says so as such. Former school resource officer in West Plains was arrested. Former employee of the Howell County Sheriff's Department was arrested for statutory sodomy. Howell County Sheriff Brent Campbell released a statement Friday stating as the allegations unfolded, Pilkington was arrested. The statement also noted he was given notice of termination within the department. Oh, well, that's good. They gave him notice. Glad to hear it. As with all matters that erode the integrity and efficiency of your office of sheriff, I want to reinforce the community that an internal investigation shall be administered in order to discover any potential points of failure in order to mitigate such matters. Well, that's good. And of course, they got the statement there. You can take a look at it. It's on KY3, the place to be, right? So, but we'll get to that. So what they also failed to mention was, and this is like, some of them didn't even mention that, they just said he was a former resource officer, didn't say. What every single news outlet, at least the ones that I saw, failed to mention was that he was also a former instructor at Shield Solutions, LLC. Oh, wait, see if we can get the close up there. There we go. He was a former instructor at Shield Solutions, LLC, which is the company that does most of the training with law enforcement across southern Missouri when it comes to schools. Now, this company is one of many in this field, and it's the place in this area for public schools and businesses who they learn critical incident response and school employee firearms training. Now, we've heard a lot about this just in recent weeks, but we'll get to that. Now, this former deputy sheriff was one of their instructors, which very likely means that he was in your kid's school. Even more likely was working with your local law enforcement, who would go through the LARPing process of active shooter drills at K through 12 campuses all across the southern part of the state. So, as if it isn't uneasy enough already, and no, I'm not just here to throw shade at the company, even though it is a disgusting practice, and I'll explain why in a moment, or law enforcement for both falling first for the NRA's bullshit talking points of arming teachers and, letting overweight cops. See if we can get a close up here. Nope. Let's see if we can get a close up. Okay. There we go. So falling for the NRA's bullshit talking points of arming teachers to the teeth and turning your school kids into child soldiers and letting overweight cops soldier around through high schools in the rural Ozarks, dressed like they're like they're freaking the Marines. Okay, I'm not just here to pick on all those folks, right? But I will. This story is actually much more prophetic than just that. You see, just 2 days ago, a viewer had submitted a video to me on social media that I found just absolutely appalling, of local law enforcement in a local white rural community acting as I would expect as opposed to how I would hope they would act. But before I show you that, I want to show you something else. This, and we will get to that, I promise you. That's the meat. This is the potatoes. This is from Douglas County Sheriff's Office Facebook page. Firstly, let's take a look. So the pin post from June 23rd, 2021. As we reach the end of the month, we'd like to remind our concealed carry weapons permit holders. This was what they've had pinned since June 23rd of 2021. We would like to remind our concealed carry weapons permit holders. This is what they found important enough to pin on their Facebook page. With the constitutional carry law that went into effect on January 1st, 2017, people often ask if they still need a permit to carry concealed in Missouri. The shorter answer is no. No, you do not need a CCW permit to carry concealed in Missouri. You must be legally able to legally carry a firearm or weapon to constitutional carry, and no other state honors the Missouri constitutional carry law. There are, however, many reasons to still obtain a CCW permit. Taking the training to obtain a permit gives you the knowledge to safely handle and store your firearm. The training also provides up-to-date information of Missouri state laws, carrying and using your firearm. So they just kind of want to inform folks, and we won't get into all of that there. But that's what they felt like keeping on their pin post since June 23rd, 2021. I would say that they missed a great opportunity for a pin post offering tots and pairs, or tots and bears, depending on what part of the state you live in, during, well, honestly, any of the mass shootings that have occurred in the last several weeks, where law enforcement would have also been involved to do their job for the thing that most of these law enforcement departments train for. But I know you're thinking to yourself, well, chainsaw, that's crazy. I mean, maybe these guys don't do all that. You know, it's a small community. I mean, keep in mind, I always talk about rural communities in places like southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, towns of 2,000 people, yada, yada, right? So they're not really worried about that kind of thing down here, right? Except for that other thing that I just said a minute ago, but we'll get into that. So then there's this. In memory of many, in honor of all, thank you for those who made the ultimate sacrifice and the families who live with the loss. Offices are going to be closed today for Memorial Day. Deputies and dispatch, 911, deputies, dispatch, and 911 service will still be on duty, should anyone need. But and that's good. Maybe whoever's in charge of their social media hasn't actually been in the office for well over a month now to catch those previous stories. But of course, if there is an emergency, you can still contact if you're in that area, to report. That's good. Obviously the office there is definitely taking the day off. They could post that on the scheduled tweets, but they couldn't post on the pinned tweets. I don't know. Maybe what it's not for me to judge, I guess. To those folks who are not familiar, like I say, when I say small towns, I mean small. 2,000 people or less. So the local sheriff, might have a brother who's a mayor of the next county over, one of the small communities, or, the police chief might have a brother who's a county sheriff who's arrested for assault and potentially kidnapping, and then charges were dropped despite multiple witness testimony. Very, very small towns is what I'm trying to tell you. It's very, very incestuous. And when it comes to local government, I mean, just all over. Okay. And so now this was posted on the 24th of May, same department, Douglas County, Missouri, Sheriff's Department, the 24th of May. Boy, that seems like a red letter date for some reason, but let's take a look. Douglas County, Missouri Sheriff, this is 10:15 a.m. Boy, that looks rough. You can never have too much duct tape. Shield Solutions, LLC. Huh, okay. May 24th, 10:15 a.m. Boy, save a little NRA action for the rest of us, would you? Shield Solutions LLC. They're reposting from Shield Solutions LLC, this sheriff's department. Okay. These dudes like Nathan Dean Long that run a long gun with the left hand and a pistol with the right are always fun to watch do transitions. And The other guy does something else. I don't know. And then here it is. Here's a class. Now we've seen these pictures, type of classroom trainings from the same company there. And here we go. Always training, always training. This is on May 24th of this year. May 24th, 10 a.m. Wow, that's a red letter date, and I'll tell you why. It's on the morning of May 24th, Douglas County Sheriff using taxpayer dollars for a LARP session, training with Shield Solutions, a company owned and operated by former and current law enforcement members to deal with active shooters, while at the same time, just 2 states away, local law enforcement, with all that training and all that waste of taxpayer money on extra training, probably to another company owned and operated by another gaggle of former police officers, failed to do shit. All the while, 4th graders are getting plugged to pieces, right? It's a fucking grift. They're literally stealing our tax dollars to give to more crooked cops so they could say, well, there was nothing we could do. Yeah, bad cops obviously found a way to funnel more money out of the system, and in order to line their pockets and lie to you, the parents and the citizens of your community. This isn't happening 2 states away. It's happening right here in southern Missouri. They couldn't vet one of their own, a speaker at this company and a deputy sheriff who was arrested for sodomy with a minor the age of 14 or under, and you're supposed to trust them with your kids and to train other cops to figure out who the bad guys are in order to protect your children at school. And what does all that training get you? What does all that militarization of cops actually get you? Well, this is the video that was submitted to me over the weekend. Let's take a look.
You would get me a tow truck en route to my location. Distribution. Marijuana. A misdemeanor? That is actually a felony in the state of Missouri. Who are you? It doesn't matter. Alright then, step back inside. Alright, step back inside. I don't have to. You're going to back up from my crime scene or you're going to jail. You're on my property. Really? Okay. Go 1015 with him too. You're under arrest for impeding an investigation. Put your hands behind your back now. Serious? Yeah, I told you. Put your hands behind your back. You guys are bitches. Really? Fucking faggot. Stop resisting. Do you understand? Douglas, you would show another male detained at this time. He is 1015. Oh yeah, it's on.
That is what the militarization of police gets you in small town rural Missouri. Now, again, this was submitted with a message that simply reads, please share this across all platforms. Tyrant Douglas County Sheriff's deputies Ava, Missouri, Sam Evans, and James Nelson assaulted my nephew live on video, despite the date and time on the cop's body camera, which says 2011. So, some questions. It was alleged that it happened on March 24th, 2024. This is what happened when my nephew walked onto his front yard to see what was going on. Now you tell me, is this resisting? Did he do anything wrong, or was there any reason for these tyrants to attack him the way they did? Also, remember, the person arrested is 150 pounds soaking wet. Evans is 300 plus pounds, and the one behind the camera is 275 easily. No body camera found, no body cam from Evans, so they can see the damage that Nelson did also. You be the judge. What if it was your child? There needs to be accountability. And then mentions that they're from Douglas County Sheriff's Department. They should be relieved of duty immediately and charged with assault. Right, so look, again, this is happening in your neck of the woods, and that's the militarization of police right there. Yes, you know, go ahead and take a second look at the video. I mean, watch it again, watch it a second time, watch it a third time. You be the judge. Look, what the guy said, obviously I'm not a huge fan of. I think that goes without saying. But at the same time, it's alleged, and if the statement is true, that there was an incident that happened outside, assuming from the video it was a traffic stop or something. For some reason, the police were out there. He was not the immediate suspect. They told him to go in the house. He refused. They told him to back away. He started to back away. Told him that it was his house, and immediately is pursued and ordered to put his hands behind his back. He does so, and then immediately is assaulted by the officer behind him. We got a thing called freedom of speech here, and you know, if this is the extent of the police training that's offered by these companies, you know, the cops actually can't go into the buildings when there's an active shooter, and we are still spending millions of dollars on not just them, but then they're wasting these millions of dollars on individual cops who own these companies to train them even further. Why are we even allowing police departments to pay private companies to train them? That's insane. That is absolutely just asinine. But then when this is the result, look, folks, it's happening in your neighborhood, whether you think it is or not. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. That's all I got for you today. Have a safe and wonderful Memorial Day day. And so I guess I should mention, the reason I'm actually wearing this hat for this broadcast today is it's Memorial Day, and this hat belonged to my grandfather, who was a police officer, as I'd mentioned. He's a retired police, or he was, of course. My late grandfather was a retired police officer. He was in San Francisco. He, worked Haight-Ashbury in the 1960s. Never once had to draw his service pistol. Never once had to kill anyone. Never once beat the shit out of someone because they mouthed off. He wasn't exactly the kind of guy that had to. And before folks say, oh, well, that was different. That was he worked Haight-Ashbury. It was a bunch of, I'm going to say it, even though I disagree with it. There's a bunch of dirty, stinky hippies out there, like they don't have any respect for this, for the police. I mean, he worked a whole neighborhood where 90% of the crowd referred to his industry as the fuzz at a time when, that wasn't just something funny to say. So, but somehow he ended up not ever beating the shit out of anyone and not ever shooting anyone, which is a lot more than I can say for a lot of the local cops in some of the areas that I've lived that are rural. And certainly more than I can say for these two douchebags in the video. I'm just saying. Anyway, you stick it. They were busting someone allegedly for marijuana distribution, okay? That in itself is comedic. And then because this guy, is a little bit mouthy, yeah, he says some shit that I don't like. He says some shit that obviously they don't like. But they're going to go out of their way and assault the guy and slam him on the ground. Look, the cop who actually did the handcuffing is a complete panty waste and is not qualified to cut grass, let alone carry a badge and a gun. That guy's a disgrace to the force and should probably just quit tomorrow out of shame. Simply put, the officer who decided that he can't give more than 5 seconds to allow someone to, withdraw from his investigation before declaring that he's going to, have them arrested, should do the exact same thing. If you can't handle the job, you don't need it. There are plenty of other, it's 2022, and I've been hearing for so long about how everyone else is hiring. Obviously, you're not cut out for law enforcement, and the chief of police down there, the sheriff in Douglas County, look, fire these two assholes, because if you don't, it would make you an asshole. And I don't know anything about the Douglas County sheriff. From what I can assume at this point, he's probably a swell guy. He's a sheriff. But if you don't do anything about bad cops, I mean, that kind of makes you a bad cop by default. Also, I should mention that that same grandfather who was in law enforcement also retired Navy, so have a great rest of your Memorial Day weekend. See you tomorrow.